Hey guys, what is going on? Carter here. I am back with a legitimate knife video. I know it has been a long time. In fact, I can't remember the last actual knife video that I did where I talk in depth about an actual knife or a new knife. So here I am back in the saddle. Hopefully I'm not too rusty, huh? And got my old background going on here. And you'll have to bear with me. I do have a head cold. It's been bugging me for the last 3 days or so, but I couldn't wait to do a video on this knife, something a little more in depth on this District 9 flipper here, because it is quite cool and it's a bit of a mystery in terms of its background, design influences, who made it, are they still being made, how to get one, all that kind of stuff. So as a recap, in my preview video I mentioned that I have seen these in a few obscure places over the last number of months. Not many though, just a few. Can't really find too much info on them. Can't really find where to get them, but I did come across one on eBay, and so I snagged it up, and I'm glad I did. So let's take a look at specifications and materials and all that fun stuff. Overall length, we've got about 8 3/4, I would say. It has about a 3 3/4 inch blade, so it is not a little knife by any means, but it is not overly large as far as I'm concerned. You can see the purchase on the handle here and kind of the overall size. I've got pretty large hands, but you can kind of get an idea of how big it is. It is a flipper, as you can see. I have still not taken this apart. It does say on the blade, no, not on the blade, on the frame, titanium alloy bearing. I assume it's referring to a bearing system, which it does feel like it could potentially have, but I've not taken it apart, so I don't know for sure. We have a VG10 blade, or at least that's what it's claimed to be. 2 thick titanium slabs, so a full titanium frame lock here with a custom clip. And what I mean by custom is just that this does not appear to be a clip that you would buy from just a knife supply store. It looks like something made specifically for this knife. The lock bar cutout is on the outside right there. It has a stonewash finish. It appears to be kind of an acid wash stonewash finish on the blade and the frame. Tanto, as you can see right here, it's got a nice choil right there, as well as the flipper. Very comfortable. You can see that, at least with me, it reminds me a lot of Hinderer's basic design. And I'm not saying that this lifted any actual features or it's copying it. Like I mentioned in my last video, I believe this is an original design. I have not seen anything that looks like this. But as an interesting side note, Schrade has recently put out some heavy-duty steel frame lock knives, and a couple of them look awfully similar to this. Now I don't know what the story is behind that, what came out first, if it's the same company, I have no idea. But I don't believe that this is a direct copy of anything. You have standoffs right there, 2 of them. There is the stop pin for the closed position. In the open position, it has these huge stop pins right there, which contact both sides of the frame. Very thick Strider-esque pivot right there, which is pretty cool. Has a steel insert in the lock bar, which is also very cool. Hinderer lock stop over travel disc right here, which I don't know if it's licensed. Like I said, I would doubt it, but of course I have no idea. Pocket clip. It works reasonably well. It works as good as it looks. You can see that it is kind of difficult to get that into your pocket. Retention's great. The fact it's really good, but it doesn't have kind of a ramp, so you can't really slide it on there too well. You can see the lockup right there, about 50%, which with the steel insert is absolutely perfect. Flips really well, actually. Flips really well. It's got a good detent, as you can see. Rock solid lockup. The grind on here is a hollow grind right here and a flat grind right there. So compound grind, very nice. Done very, very well. You can see the jimping on the back here gives you good grip. It feels quite comfortable, especially in the saber grip. Really comfortable, actually, more comfortable than I was anticipating. Centering is just barely off. No blade play up and down or left and right. It is rock solid. Very surprised. Very impressed with this knife. Let's look at the blade thickness here. Trying to get it on camera. So it is about 5 mil thick. So quite thick indeed. That is some thick stock. And if it really is VG10, that is quite impressive. Looks like about 4 mil thick slabs on the side here. And let's go with the, let's take a look at the weight now. Pull out my new scale that I got. So I believe, yeah, it's about 7.7 ounces. So heavy, but you know, somewhat within reason. I mentioned the Schrade versions of this that are similar in design, that feature the all steel frame. Those come in at over 10 ounces, I believe. So even heavier. That's what the titanium affords you. And speaking of titanium, I have reason to believe that this is real titanium. I know it's always questionable when you have inexpensive knives coming from China. This goes for about $100, by the way. You know, depending on where you get it, might be a little more. You might be able to find a little less, but about $100. So very good deal on a knife like this. But the reason I say that it's actually titanium, it's obviously I've checked the ferrousness, I don't know if that's a word, to see if it's magnetic. It is not magnetic. So that would mean that it's probably either a non-ferrous steel, which it would be way heavier than this, so there's no way it's steel, or aluminum. But it does not look like aluminum. Aluminum, especially when you stonewash it like this, it's a lot lighter. Titanium has kind of that grayer type look to it. So I do think that this is in fact titanium. So $100 for a big, beefy, well-flipping knife is pretty impressive. One of the things that drew me to this is it looks like maybe a Jake Hoback custom, and I don't mean in terms of design, I just mean in terms of the finish and kind of the, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, the artistic kind of design features on this knife. It's very industrial kind of looking, and it looks fairly close to a custom or a higher end production knife at a very affordable cost. So definitely very cool. Unfortunately, like I mentioned before, I don't know what the status is of these. I believe there's a drop point version of this, and then there's another style. It's quite similar, but it has kind of a frag pattern on it. And then I've seen that other style re-released under the brand KO knives, which I believe I have one of those coming as well. But there's a few differences between the KO version and the District 9 version. The District 9 version has this style pocket clip, whereas the KO has a different style, and there's a few other differences. So I don't know, guys. I don't know if District 9 is a legitimate company or just if it's just a model name. I don't know. I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery, but I can say if you come across one of these at a reasonable price, I would say jump on it. If you're into kind of the big, beefy, titanium, heavy-duty kind of industrial-looking knife, you know, it seems great to me. Of course, this is the only one I've ever handled, but this is a pretty nice specimen. I did mention that there is one thing on this knife that is slightly off in terms of the fit, and I'm not talking about the centering, because you know, it's a little off, but who cares. It's the detent, the closed detent. You can see how it has some play in it, and all that means is that the detent hole or the closed position stop pin, something is just slightly off, and it's not quite matching up, which, you know, is one of the more difficult and precise things to do. You've got to make sure that right at the point where this is closed, the detent hole is drilled precisely, but that's it. Everything else is about perfect. Alright guys, see ya.